Hello everyone, this is 5.3 Pythagorean Theorem. So if you could go ahead and title your composition book, 5.3 Pythagorean Theorem, that would be great. If you haven't already noticed, I love right triangles. I hope you can see that. I heart right triangles. They're one of my favorite types of triangles. As you already know, triangles are my favorite shape. So I just want to talk a little bit about right triangles and the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem is going to be this formula that we use, but we can only use it in a right triangle. So make sure, as I'm writing, you're writing. So everything that I write up here, I need you to write in your composition book. So can only be used in a right triangle, Pythagorean theorem. Okay? The formula for Pythagorean theorem has some letters in it, and it's a squared, so there's a little 2 on top of the a, plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, the squared just means to the power of 2. Okay? I drew a right triangle here just so we can label and know what's A, what's B, and what's C. So just a quick recap in case you don't remember this or have never learned this. This right here and this, these two are the two shortest sides of the triangle, and they're called legs. So this is a leg, and this is a leg. And the long side of the triangle is called the hypotenuse. Okay, and the hypotenuse is, like I said, the longest side of the triangle, and you're going to hear that word a lot this week. And its letter is C, which is right here in our formula. The hypotenuse is C, and then it doesn't matter on the legs. Each leg can either be A or B. It doesn't matter. So this could be A, and this could be B, or this could be A, and this could be B. It doesn't matter. So these two just have to be your legs. Okay? That's what you need to know right before we jump into our example. So make sure you have this down. All right, here's your first example. We have a right triangle. We know it's a right triangle because we have a right angle right there. And remember my formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So the two legs are the two shortest sides, which are A and B. It doesn't matter which. Again, you just pick one. So I'm going to say that 12 is my A and 5 is my B. So now I'm trying to find C. I don't know what C is, but I can use my formula to find out. So wherever there's an A, I'm going to plug in 12. So 12 squared. Wherever there's a B, I'm going to plug in 5. 5 squared. And I still don't know what C is, so I'm just going to rewrite it, equals c squared. So now I need to do some math. I need to do some simplifying. So 12 squared, if you don't know 12 squared off the top of your head because you don't love right triangles as much as I do, then you might have to use your calculator. So on your calculator you can press 12 and then the caret key 2, or you can just press 12 squared. If you're not sure how to do that, we can show you in class. And remember, 12 squared is the same thing as 12 times 12. Okay? But I know that 12 times 12, or 12 squared, is 144. Then I have to add 5 squared. I also know that 5 squared is 25. Because I do Pythagorean theorem in my sleep. I just love it. So 5 squared is 25 equals c squared. So if you remember order of operations, we have got to do our exponents first, and then we add. So we're doing our exponents first, and then we're going to add. So 144 plus 25, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to do some work over here. 9, 6, 169. 169 equals c squared. Now, we've got to figure out what c is, and to figure out c, we're going to have to do the opposite of squaring something, which is square rooting it. So once we get to this step, we're going to square root 169, and that will get us c by itself. So I'm really taking the square root of both sides. So The square root of c squared is just c. And the square root of 169, I also just happen to know, is 13. If you don't trust me, try in your calculator. So c is actually 13. So I found my missing side, and that is all I need to know. So that's example number 1. This is your second example problem. And this time we have this right triangle. It's kind of flipped sideways. That's all right. Just go ahead and copy this triangle down into your notebook. And if you're noticing, there's something different about this triangle. Remember, the longest side is always the hypotenuse, which is kind of this, it's always going to be the diagonal side. So the diagonal side is the hypotenuse, and it's 18. We know that. And we have one of the legs, which we're going to call A, and it's only 8. And we're trying to find B. So, in our last example, we added the 2 legs together to find the hypotenuse, but this time, instead of adding, we're actually going to subtract from the hypotenuse. So, I'm going to write this on the board: c squared minus a squared equals b squared. It's the same sort of thing, but since we don't have, since we don't know this leg, we're actually going to subtract the hypotenuse from one of the legs, okay? So again, we're just going to fill in these numbers. C squared, C we know is 18, so 18 squared minus a squared is 8 squared equals b squared. We still don't know. So again, I'm going to simplify by squaring each of my numbers. So 18 times 18, I actually didn't know off the top of my head, but I used a calculator earlier, is 324 minus 8 squared is 64 equals b squared. Now we just need to subtract these 2 numbers. So 324 minus 64 is 260 equals b squared. Again, we need the b to be by itself, so I'm going to square root this 260 so that I can get rid of the square. And now I have the square root of 260 equals b. And again, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I used a calculator, which is what you'll have to do when you're working on this kind of stuff. And I got b equals 16.12. So I said round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to say that b is 162.1. Sorry. It's 16.12. So I'm going to say 16.1. So that's my final answer. B is 16.1. Again, we're just trying to find the missing side. These are your practice problems for tonight. You're just finding the missing side. So keep in mind on this one, it's the hypotenuse. So you're going to have to add. And on this one, it's one of the legs. So you're going to have to subtract. So make sure you double check those example problems just in case you need some more clarification. You might have to round to the nearest tenth on these. And keep in mind you're using the square root button, and so if you're doing this on your iPad or if you have a calculator on your phone, to find that square root button, you might have to tilt your phone or iPad to the side because that will give you more button options, and a square root is one of them. Please make sure to take a picture of just your practice problems and turn them in to Edmodo.